Hey folks, just a little bit for you to understand very quickly the differences between the different kind of Snowflake instances. Okay, so we have basically four different instances here, where the three main used ones are the standard, enterprise, and business critical, and then there is the private Snowflake. And then yeah, I'm gonna touch on that a little bit later when we go through the specific features of each one of them. Okay, so here you're gonna find some of the descriptions of it. So standard is the one you can get started when you're starting a project from zero and you don't have much data and much things to worry about. Okay, but you can easily upgrade. Downgrading is a bit hard, but upgrading it's totally feasible. So you can start with a standard, and then if you need enterprise features, you can upgrade, and business critical features, you can upgrade even more. Okay, the main difference between business critical and the other ones is that it offers a bit more security, so that's why it's called business critical. If we go here and click on the all features, we see a table with a comparison of all of them, right? So what we have in the first one, we definitely have on the subsequent one, and so on. Okay, so what do we have in the standard here? We have some federated authentication for SSO, some certification, especially for US market. Okay, we can do OAuth, we can apply network policies to restrict IP, automatic encryption of data with Snowflake encryption keys. Okay, MFA is enabled, you can use that. Object access control, so you can apply your rules, your ABAC rules easily. Time travel up to 1 day, and disaster recovery using failsafe through failsafe for 7 days. Okay, what then we have in the enterprise extra? I think here is the big gap between enterprise and standard. Okay, so we extend the time travel to 90 days. That version control of data that I mentioned before, you have up to 90 days. Of course, you're paying for all of it, right? You can also change the encryption keys. You can add column level security, row level security, object tagging, which is pretty interesting when you're planning on an enterprise architecture to tag the resources and to basically allocate costs in different tags. And then, for example, you can split the costs of Snowflake instance with end users, right? For example, with the finance, marketing, CRM team, whatever, right? You can classify potentially data using classification, and then you have access to the access history field, which is a metadata table that brings all access information. So you can then create your monitoring and controlling on that also. Then when you go to the business critical, what we're gonna have here on the top is basically more security, as I mentioned before. So you can add your customer encryption keys, right? That's pretty interesting. Other thing that's very used is the private link, the private connection through some private links on AWS, Azure, and GCP. I have used all of them and all the companies I worked with Snowflake so far, because this is a very great way to make your traffic and Snowflake very safe, much safer, despite of having a very good role-based access control hierarchy, or having everyone with multi-factor authentication enabled, implementing SSO and user lifecycle through, for example, Azure AD, plus you can have a private link, and then it makes especially all the connections, not especially, but all the connections safer, especially also the connections with third party and through CLIs, for example. And we have also some other protections, some certifications that Snowflake guarantees that for you then, especially for US market, I guess. And what do we have in the private version of Snowflake? We have only one extra, which actually is all the metadata and pool of compute resources, they are dedicated in a different environment. It means nothing that regards your data and metadata, everything that touches the cloud layer, from the cloud layer, the storage layer, and the compute layer, everything that touches data, it's on a private cloud. This is basically used for businesses. I would say that finance worldwide, and if I'm not mistaken, but health in US is very critical, especially with patient data. So you can add that because let's say your data cannot go over the public cloud. So because if you're using AWS, you're using the public cloud, right? So this is a very special and unique requirement. I haven't used that so far, but yeah, it's available for you in case you need. So this is a bit on what are the differences between the instances. For our course, we're going to use the enterprise. That's more than enough. Don't worry that the credit cost is a bit higher. Don't worry with that. But we're going to use the credits that we have for the free trial during the 1 month.